Attention shoppers. Tonight on the checkout, Swiss gets a new brand ambassador. Kate shows guilty mums how to rest in peace. And Kirsten gives Eurofen's PR people a headache. But first, Julian Morrow to the pharmacy.
When I suffer from back pain, I take Nurofen Migraine for fast, targeted relief.
When I have a tension headache, I take Nurofen Back Pain for fast, targeted relief.
When I've got a sore neck, I take Nurofen Period Pain for fast, targeted relief.
And I take Nurofen Zavance for the fast, targeted relief of my Zavance.
If you think they've stuffed up, you're right. But not because they bought the wrong pain relief. In fact, they all bought exactly the same active ingredient, ibuprofen. Ibuprofen is a proven pain reliever. It's on the WHO list of most effective, safe and cost-effective medicines. For medicines, that's like the Allen Border Medal, but more interesting. You won't find Nurofen back pain in any list of cost-effective medicines though, because at 51 cents a tablet, it is 70% more expensive than Nurofen Zavance, even though it offers exactly the same pain relief in pretty much the same time. And that goes for Nurofen Migraine, tension headache and period pain as well. The only difference between any of these is the price. So you three paid 70% more for exactly the same results.
Yeah!
Now that's a pain. Maybe that Nurofen back pain should look more like this. Because the fact is, ibuprofen can't target specific types of pain. And don't just take it from me, this white coat agrees too. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And he's like a serious white coat. His name's
Andrew McLaughlin, Professor of Pharmacy, University of Sydney.
But the point is,
Even if you've got back pain, migraine, tension headache, and period pain all at once,
you get the same pain relief from a dose of any old ibuprofen. If you did take one of Nurofen's supposedly specialised tablets for each different pain at the same time, and you shouldn't, that'd be more than double the recommended dose. Make a habit of that, and you'll be on your way to the third most common type of headache, medication overuse headache.
What have we got? We found it with these. Damn it! Give me a packet of Nurofen Overuse. Nurofen Overuse for fast, targeted relief.
That one's not on the market yet, but drug companies are always looking for ways to increase ibuprofen sales. When it was first invented in the UK, you could only get ibuprofen by prescription. In 2003, it became an over-the-counter drug here. Now you can get it in supermarkets, convenience stores, even petrol stations. The company which makes Nurofen, Reckitt Benckiser, reportedly generates 40% of its revenue every year from innovations launched within the previous 3 years. That's our tablet graph, by the way. It also comes in caplet, liquid caplet, or as a gel cap. Now, Nurofen's not the only drug to use these tactics, but they are a market leader in silly gimmicks. In England, to increase emotional connection with customers, Nurofen even invented a courageous animated superhero, Neuro, who defeats a group of 5 anti-heroes, the Headaches. A fairly lame plot, but still much better than Skyfall.
Oh, Mr. Bond.
The most you can say for all of Nurofen's targeted variants is that selling something that claims to work on a specific pain might give customers something like another proven form of pain relief, placebo. But when questionable branding's mixed with opportunistic pricing, you can't help thinking that the most active ingredient of all is marketing.
No one from Reckitt Benckiser was willing to go on camera to defend those Nurofen products. But their PR company did give us a statement and asked us to attribute it to a Reckitt Benckiser spokesperson. Well, sure.
Nurofen's targeted pain relief labelling is based on evidence-based science.
And some other stuff you can read on our website. When we asked them what evidence-based science they were referring to, they sent us photocopies of some very sciencey looking documents, which were a real headache to read, but say nothing about Nurofen. They do, however, confirm that ibuprofen is non-selective. So, there is evidence-based science, it just doesn't support Nurofen's claims about targeting. The Nurofen spin doctors also say their labels are
Approved by the Therapeutic Goods Administration.
Although they didn't mention that in 2012, the TGA upheld a complaints panel decision about a TV ad that found the phrase targeted relief of pain, which is still on Nurofen packs like this today, was misleading. So, if you're looking for reliable info about Nurofen, talk to a real doctor, not a spin doctor.
Hi, I'm Nicole Kidman, eating an apple. When Swiss asked if I'd be their spokesperson, I said, how about you say Swiss ambassador? That way you can just film me prancing around without speaking. Well, I could wear cool boots, hide behind flowers, do whatever that is, and I won't have to parrot any of the dodgy claims you make about your products. Just put that shit in graphics at the end. Yeah!
In our first show, we looked at the way natural medicines are approved by the Therapeutic Goods Administration, the TGA. $49? How do the starving Indians afford this rubbish? We'd like to make a minor correction, because although we said the TGA is piss weak, the system is a joke, and they don't enforce their joke of a system. Soon after that aired, the TGA decided to cancel the approval for Swiss Ultiboost appetite suppressant. So what happens when the TGA actually enforces this joke of a system? Well, here's the worst-case scenario as we described it. Sometimes, to avoid the TGA, products just pull themselves off the market, keep the same ingredients, and then relist it with the same ingredients but a different name. And here's the letter that Swiss sent out to their sellers after the TGA decision.
Swiss Hunger Control. This is not a new line of Swiss product, rather a new name for the same product.
So how did Swiss dodge the TGA delisting their product? Remember this. You can sell your herbal whatever if you say that it's been used somewhere traditionally. So guess what Swiss did?
New label. Traditionally used in India to help reduce hunger levels.
Wow, so now we've got a new reformulated, more effective label. But perhaps Swiss are kind of admitting to us that the product doesn't work that well.
The choice of the Australian Olympic team.
So that's what happens when the not completely piss-weak TGA tries to enforce its joke of a system. It's enough to drive you to... Thankfully, these rules that are less effective than Swiss hunger control are under review. Swiss and the industry are pushing back against the changes. They don't mind when something doesn't work. But we tend to agree with the new ambassador for Swiss.
Just because it is doesn't mean it should be.
The search for the most expensive internet. 5, 'cause we search for Australia's most expensive parking. So if you see a particularly pricey place to park, tweet it using the hashtag #MostExpensive. Post it on the Checkout TV Facebook wall or email it to tipoff@thecheckout.net.au.
As a guilty mum, I know when baby won't sleep, it's not Mother Nature's fault. It's my fault. Which is why my baby's routine has all the sleep aids Mother Nature left out. First, there's Sleep Sheep. The mother's calming heartbeat sound is definitely more calming than my heartbeat. Then I add the calming lights of the Twilight Turtle. hope she's not epileptic. Then I liberally spray pharmaceutical-grade lavender oil, which helps create a calming ambience for settling babies. Scientific evidence suggests that other scientific studies on lavender aren't right. And since every mum could do with a hand getting baby to sleep, that's exactly what I bought, because it's proven that babies sleep better with the Zaki Infant Hand Pillow. And when none of that works, I bring out the big guns. Because $100 is a small price to pay for clinically proven sleep enhancement technology. And $29.95 is another small price to pay for sounds created by world-leading doctors in sleep. I don't understand. I followed the Johnsons' baby bedtime routine to a T. I bought the bedtime bubble bath. I did the massage with bedtime oil. I rubbed in the bedtime lotion. As a guilty mum, of course I did. The mildness of its effect is clinically proven. Maybe it's her bed. I considered this koala hammock, but I just couldn't go past the perfect sleep solution. It doesn't just save my sanity, it's also excellent for easing flatulence, and it's perfectly safe. Of course, as a guilty mum, I never admit defeat, but sometimes I do change rooms. So when baby's back in our room, I've got a sidecar crib for our bed. It's not a guaranteed resting place for her, but it's great for an iPad.
We were recently contacted by a concerned parent who bought her child a scooter from Kmart. When she opened the pack, she was a bit surprised by one of the warnings she found on the inside.
There at number 16 was the warning. This product contains chemicals known to the state of California to cause cancer or birth defects or other reproductive harm.
Gnarly warning, dude.
Yeah, it is. And you think if that was the case, you'd put the warning on the outside of the pack so you can read it before you purchase it, rather than on the inside. But I guess this warning was more important.
Parental advisory.
Mad content!
Even the Kmart staff seem unaware of this tremendous selling point.
I need a scooter where it has chemicals that cause cancer or birth defects. Do you know which one that is?
You want one that's safe from it, or...?
No, one with chemicals that cause cancer or birth defects. Doesn't matter. Somebody bought one and I'm pretty sure it was from Kmart. This is the picture. Do you have that one? MGP Limited. This is the one with the chemicals for cancer and birth defects. Just wanted to clarify whether the cancer-causing chemicals work in Australia or just in California.
So that's not our brand.
But it bought it from Kmart.
Yeah, you'd have to contact them.
You don't know if what birth defects can be caused, like, because you know if it's like a cleft palate or something, it might be alright. But if it's like thalidomide, I'm not so keen on it.
Birth defects?
Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify what that
really
was.
Bizarre. I don't know. No one's ever asked me that.
It just seems like a strange warning.
Speculate is there'll be something in the paint.
So it's only the paint that causes the
it's
cancer.
Either got to be the paint or the metal. That's all. That's all I can guess.
Cancer or birth defects or other reproductive harm. So that's this one, is it? Because that's what I was looking for. This one? Yeah, cool. All right. Thanks for your help. Cheers.
But before you rush and take your scooters back to Kmart, let's have a look at why these chemicals are only known to the state of California. That warning's there because of a law passed in California in 1986, Proposition 65, which requires warnings when certain chemicals are used. And here are the chemicals it applies to. Warnings like this might seem like a great idea, but they don't tell you which chemicals are used or how much risk there actually is. more. Because if you start seeing these warnings on numerous everyday products, you start to ignore them, even if they are actually dangerous. It's a bit like the boy that cried wolf. Wolf! Good one, kid. So what does this mean for our Mad Scooter? An Australian-owned brand made in China that can scare consumers based on a law in California. That's globalisation.
Yeah, the stunt guy's gone home, Craig.
What? The reason our scooter has the warning on it is because it has lead and cadmium. But Kmart has assured us that
The testing of the Mad Scooter has confirmed the presence of lead and cadmium is well under the maximum permitted levels in Australia.
So if you see one of these warnings, don't freak out. Although you can ask the shop in question if you're worried about it. And in this case, there's no problem with our Mad Scooters, as long as you're using them as a scooter should be used. Although I probably wouldn't eat it.
Now you tell me!
Kids, man.
Australians, we love our smartphones and we love our apps. The average Australian smartphone user has 28 apps on their phone, 10 of which are paid for.
By the end of last year, Australians had downloaded more than 1 billion apps. The two biggest application stores, Google Play and Apple App Store, each offer more than 700,000 different apps. They may be new technologies, but they fulfill age-old desires.
Most apps are great. There are apps for finding directions, apps to cure boredom, apps to teach you things. But then there are apps that are designed to exploit you.
And some that are just scams. They use old techniques dressed up in new technology. The first, and most simple, is the lookalike. A lookalike app disguises itself as a more popular app. Lookalike scam apps sometimes appear on the most downloaded apps lists of both Apple and Google.
The Halo 4 app, which cost $5.49, was released just in time for Christmas last year. It contained real-looking screenshots, its description said Halo 4, and it was rated 4.5 stars by hundreds of reviewers.
But every one of those over 200 5-star reviews used a full name and a middle initial, which makes me extremely dubious.
And it turned out to be little more than a chess app and driving simulator.
Which brings us to money stealers. Some apps exploit security flaws in app stores to acquire your personal information and steal from you.
One developer hacked into the App Store and used other people's accounts to buy hundreds of copies of his app. It was so successful that at one stage his Vietnamese language comic books had 41 of the top 50 in the books category.
Some apps work within the law, but have dodgy ways of making you spend more. Bill shock apps. Often, app producers will get kids hooked on playing a free game, then make their money from in-game upgrades.
Smurf Village is a classic example. It's a cartoony game clearly aimed at young kids. However, its in-app purchases can cost up to $110. It's not illegal, but in my book, charging $110 for virtual berries in a kid's game is a bit predatory.
The techniques used by scammers can be sophisticated, but the main reason they get away with it is consumer apathy. Apps don't usually cost much, and you're not buying a physical product, so when people get ripped off, they don't complain. They don't realise that their consumer rights are the same whether they're buying Smurf berries in the virtual world or the real world. Not falling for that one again.
In 2011, an Android app scammed about 1,400 UK customers, costing them £28,000. Yet only 34 complaints were registered.
But don't worry, if you buy a dodgy app,
Google and Apple make it really easy for you to get a refund. Part of the problem is that Apple and Google have an ingenious method of making people think that all sales are final. They do it by writing in their terms and conditions, all sales are final. Ignore this because it's not true. And they know it. Put a sign like that up in their real store and they're very quick to remove it.
You can't really do that in the shop, man. What, mate? You can't really come inside the shop and do it. We're just putting up the all sales are final sign. Is it too big? Would you like us to put a smaller one up, like on the website? Okay. Hang on a sec. Just don't do that. We're just helping you out.
Ah. Under the Australian consumer law, apps, like any other product, have to be of acceptable quality and work as described. If they don't, you've got a right to get your money back. But how easy is it to do this? Let's find out. We downloaded an app called Cool X-Ray Booth Pro, which said it would turn my iPhone camera into an X-ray machine. It said I could check your bones, just like the doctors do.
Wow, I'm going to save so much on my medical bills.
Amazingly, with X-Ray Photo Booth Pro, I couldn't see through my skin at all, and the photos taken looked nothing like the screenshots.
What?
I had a bone to pick. So I clicked Report a Problem in my iTunes receipt. This took me to my iTunes purchase history, where I clicked Report a Problem again. Shows the application does not function as expected, and Apple said they're not able to provide support and I need to contact the developer. So I clicked the link to the developer's website and it's all in Chinese. Maybe I need to speak to this guy. And when you click App Support on your phone, you're taken directly to the developer's website as well. In fact, Apple's support pages tell you at least 4 times if you've got a problem with an app, you need to contact the developer, even though you bought it from Apple. They even suggest you use an internet search engine to find company contact details. What a brilliant idea. We thought we'd give it a try. I found out the name of our developer, Googled him, internet search engined him, and tried to contact every Liam Zhong in the world.
Hi Liam, welcome to YouTube. Just trying to get a refund under Section 54 and 56 of the Australian Consumer Law. Please send me the refund under Section 263(4)(a). Here's a picture of a cat.
Liam Zhong on YouTube didn't get back to me, Liam Zhong on Twitter didn't tweet me back, and for some reason, Liam Zhong on Facebook didn't even accept my friend request. Maybe Apple can help.
Liam Zhong, you know Liam? He works with Apple. He looks like this. You'd recognise him if you've seen him.
I'm actually getting my manager to come
okay,
and see
cool.
you.
He might know Liam, cool. Siri, do you know where Liam Zhong is?
I'm sorry, Fuck. I'm afraid I can't answer that.
Ignore what Apple says. You have a right to a refund directly from them. So I contacted Apple and explained I'd purchased a product from them which didn't match the description, and that I believed I was entitled to my money back. And I received a personal email back within an hour saying I'd receive a full refund. That's 99 cents. The hardest part of getting a refund was finding a contact email. All you have to do is click Support, iTunes, Contact Support, Contact iTunes Store Support, Purchases Billing and Redemption, Quality of Purchase Content, Email. But don't worry if you can't remember all of that, because we've built an app that takes you directly where you need to go on the Apple website. So now when you want to enforce your consumer rights with Apple, there's an app for that. Download it now and we'll throw in $50 worth of Smurfberries.
App not yet approved by Apple, but we can't see why they'd say no to it.
The best way to protect yourself from dodgy apps is to do your research. Remember, the ratings in app stores can be faked up. So if you've got any concerns, Google the app and see if anybody else has got any problems.
Whatever you do, don't give your kids your App Store password. It's like giving them a credit card in a Smurfberry store. And if you do get ripped off, enforce your consumer rights. If more people did that, it'd be harder for people to scam us.
My name is Barry Schwartz, and I'm a professor of psychology at Swarthmore College near Philadelphia. And I wrote a book some years ago called The Paradox of Choice. If I could say one thing, it's this. good enough is almost always good enough. Whether you're looking for a mortgage or a flat screen TV, a place to go on vacation, or even something as trivial as a tube of toothpaste, there are just a dizzying number of options. And with so much choice available, people are naturally inclined to look for the best. And people who seek the best are producing misery for themselves while they choose, and dissatisfaction and disappointment with what they end up choosing. The quest for the best is a huge mistake. Good enough is almost always good enough.
It's that time again when Aussie consumers say,
If you.
and the topics that get us worked up are effing varied.
Virgin Mobile. Apple. Westnet.
Harvey Norman or JB Hi-Fi.
My Bjork Shiley 70° CC hard valve.
Why do you have to advertise toilet paper?
One of the most intense complaints we got was about Apple laptop chargers.
Both of our chargers have broken. Damn it! Mostly at the top, and my sister actually just got electrocuted by taking hers out of the computer.
Okay, first of all, stop using that charger. Second, we're not sure where you got the idea chargers aren't covered by Apple's warranty. Hopefully not from Apple. Though, as we've heard tonight, their grasp of consumer issues is a little shocking.
Broken. Damn it!
But girls, the guarantees under the Australian consumer law should apply. So if your cords weren't of acceptable quality and reasonably durable, you shouldn't be getting any nasty charges. A special mention also to Anne, who put her complaint into song.
Star Trek next flight's motto is when service matters, but that it seems total rubbish. Where is my money back guarantee?
We were really sorry to hear that, Anne. Really. And we're following up with Star Trek, because Anna really wants
that money back guarantee. Or should I call ACCC?
That's certainly worth considering. Sorry, thought it was over. But you can complain to the ACCC, Anne, and if you're lucky, your complaint will fall on deaf ears. Finally tonight, an update. Remember Jack Yakovich's dodgy Turtle Beach headset? Not everyone agreed with us about that one. 13-year-old Errol Schroeder, aka Stooge Master 500, said,
"You should apologise to Oz Game Shop, because they did nothing wrong. It's Turtle Beach's fault for not giving a refund."
Errol's point is the business Jack bought from, OzGameShop.com, is actually based in the UK. That's interesting. When we told Jack, he agreed too.
That raises complicated legal questions about the extraterritorial application of the Australian consumer law.
Although, after further reflection, Jack's position is,
yeah, bullshit, they should still give me my money back.
Now, I'm not looking for a fight with the Stooge Master, but on this one, I'm with Jack. It's true the Australian consumer law doesn't always apply when you buy online from overseas operations, but it can, and we reckon it does to Oz Game Shop. Besides, the UK consumer protection laws definitely apply, and they've got similar rules about returning faulty products. Okay, Errol?
Yep, fair enough.
And Jack, if nothing else, you're covered by the Sale of Goods Act UK 1979.
Yeah, well, a fat lot of good that's going to do to me.
For the record, a lot of viewers seem pretty happy with Oz Game Shop. They got in touch with us quick smart, and they've given Jack a new headset free of charge, which seems to have done the trick. And if you want to be enlightened about buying online from overseas businesses, remember, you've got rights, but they're more complicated and harder to enforce. So,
buyer beware.